Villisca, Iowa is a peaceful, rural community located in the central part of the state, about an hour east of Omaha, Nebraska. Getting to Villisca requires a journey through carefully maintained crops and fields, giving the traveler an appreciation for the heartland of America. Train tracks crisscross the landscape, connecting towns and moving the products of farming out of Iowa and into other parts of the country. In 1912, the town of Villisca had a population of around 2,500 people, and residents were close-knit, God-fearing, and community-oriented, having a great love of town and country. For example, during World War II, the county of Montgomery County, in which Villisca sits, lost more men per capita than any other county in the United States. Families in Villisca took pride in the fact that they were a safe, tight-knit community, where children played freely and residents were always available to help out their neighbors. It was in 1912 that Josiah Moore and his family lived on East 3rd Street in Villisca in a quiet two-story house. Josiah B. Moore was a 43-year-old leader in the community and prominent in city activities for several years, once holding a position as a member of the school board, as well as being a well-known member of the Presbyterian Church. He worked for the local hardware store for 9 years before opening the J.B. Moore Implementation Company, with John Deere becoming a client. Sarah Moore, aged 40, was also a pillar of the community, and together with Josiah had 4 children: Herman, age 11, Catherine, age 9, Boyd, age 7, and Paul, age 5. The Moore house was a modest 2-bedroom home that was small but functional for the family. The front door opened into a welcoming parlor. Adjacent to the parlor was a kitchen with a large pantry and large windows, allowing for an abundance of natural light during the day. Also downstairs was a small bedroom, which became the bedroom of 9-year-old Catherine Moore, as she was the only girl. Off of the kitchen was a narrow stairway which led to the upstairs bedrooms. In the alcove at the top of the stairs was the open bedroom belonging to Josiah and Sarah, and adjacent to their room was another bedroom in which Herman, Boyd, and Paul slept. Situated between the 2 bedrooms was a doorway leading to a small closet, behind which sits a long attic area. On the evening of June 9, 1912, the Moore family returned to their farmhouse from a church function. Also returning to the house were 2 guests who were invited to spend the night: Lena Stillinger, age 12, and her sister Ina, age 8. The Stillinger girls were to sleep in Catherine's downstairs bedroom, while the entire Moore family was to sleep upstairs. It was while they slept, sometime between the night of June 9th and the morning of June 10th, 1912, that the little nondescript house on East 3rd Street in Villisca, Iowa, became the scene of one of the most violent and still unsolved murders in the history of the United States. Unbeknownst to the Moore family while they slept, someone was sitting in the attic with an axe. In the dark of night, and possibly with a nearby train drowning out his noise, the man slipped from the attic and stood beside the bed of Josiah and Sarah. The man used the blunt end of the axe to strike only the face of Josiah and then the face of Sarah, his upward swings leaving cuts in the ceiling of the room. Next, he moved into the children's room. He struck Herman, Paul, Boyd, and Catherine, each in the face with the axe while they lay asleep in their beds. The attack so quick and deadly that no one had time to react. After attacking the Moore family, the man retreated down the stairs and made his way into Catherine's room, where Lena and Ina were asleep. The man used an axe on the faces of both of the girls, just like he had done with the Moore family. With the victims' faces mutilated beyond recognition, the murderer then went through the house and, for reasons unknown, covered the faces of all of the victims as well as all of the mirrors in the house. In the kitchen, the man drew a bowl of water and washed his hands of the blood. He then made a plate of food which he set on the table but did not eat. The man then slipped out of the house, disappearing into the night forever. The next morning, a neighbor discovered the gruesome scene, which included all of the victims dead, having each been struck multiple times in the face with the axe. The town and law enforcement went into a frenzy in an attempt to determine the identity of the murderer. Although very few clues were left at the scene, cigarette butts, an unusual slab of bacon, and the axe itself were found in the house. Additionally, no motive could be established as to why the murders occurred. The community was shaken, and rewards were quickly offered for any information that could lead to the conviction of the person or persons responsible for the murders. While there were several men detained and even a few arrested, there was simply not enough evidence for a jury to convict anyone at the time. To this day, the Villisca Axe murders remains an unsolved mystery. Because of the horror that occurred within these walls, the Villisca Axe Murder House is considered to be one of the most haunted locations in the United States. This led the investigators of Soul Sisters Paranormal to travel to Iowa to determine for ourselves if the former Moore family home really is haunted. Are you one of the Moore family? Okay, thank you. Now step back, now that we know who you are. Thank you. Are you Josiah Moore? Are you Sarah Moore? Okay, hey Sarah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Please step back. To the Villisca Axe Murder House, we were given a complete tour of the house, along with the detailed descriptions of the actions that took place that night in 1912. We followed the footsteps that the killer is theorized to have taken that night, complete with viewing the remaining gouge marks in the ceiling that was left by the upward swings of the blows that killed Josiah and Sarah. After the tour, we discussed where to deploy our equipment, and then we quickly got to work setting up all of our stationary equipment that we would leave running throughout the night. For example, we left the night vision video camera, a voice recorder, and trigger items in the attic where it is believed the killer was hiding. We also left a camera to cover the area where Josiah and Sarah Moore were killed. To finalize the upstairs setup, we left multiple cameras, a voice recorder, and trigger items in the bedroom where the 4 Moore children were killed, in the hopes of getting a response from the spirits of the children that are reported to remain in this room. We left a stationary camera and a voice recorder in the parlor, as well as in the downstairs bedroom where Lena and Ina Stillinger were killed. And finally, we left 2 night vision video cameras in the kitchen area to cover the doors, as well as the narrow stairway leading to the upstairs. With all of our stationary equipment in place, we were ready to start our investigation. There were 5 Soul Sister investigators on this investigation, and during the night, we alternated between investigating in pairs and conducting EVP sessions as the entire group. Additionally, there were intervals during the night when we all vacated the house entirely in an attempt to pick up anything on our stationary equipment. During our 7-hour investigation, we covered the house as thoroughly as we could with every piece of equipment that we had. While inside of the house, we all felt an eerie feeling at times, along with thinking we heard footsteps, whispers, and bangs. Also, because the house is small, we were mindful of the fact that noise pollution could be a factor in this investigation, either from each other in other rooms or from outside noises such as cars passing in the night. Although we took that skeptical approach into the evidence review as well, we still captured some things that we cannot explain. One of the first EVPs that we captured was on the voice recorder that was left to run in the attic. In this clip, the group of us can be heard ascending the stairs to conduct our first EVP session. The voice recorder captures a slight whisper of a man saying what we believe is, "Here they come." Although difficult to pick up because we are talking, we will play this clip 3 times so that you may attempt to hear it. An interesting trend that we noticed during evidence review was that while we were asking questions in one room of the house, responses that we captured were picked up on the voice recorders in other rooms of the house. In this example, Kara and Kim were conducting an EVP session in the downstairs bedroom. During our setup, we had uncovered the mirrors in the house in an attempt to get a response to the exposed mirrors. Kara mentions this fact during this EVP session. The voice recorder in the upstairs bedroom captures a response. In this clip, Kara's voice is muffled because she is downstairs, but we will play this clip 3 times so that you may attempt to hear the EVP. In another instance, we were all downstairs in the parlor conducting an EVP session. The voice recorder in the upstairs bedroom where the Moore children were killed captures an EVP of what we believe is a child saying, "I can see the bad men." Beside the fact that this is a child's voice being spoken in a room that is completely empty of any living thing, this EVP is interesting because we believe it says men rather than man. Another EVP that we captured was again captured on the voice recorder in the children's room. Kara and Kim were conducting an EVP session in that upstairs room when they decided to move into the parents' bedroom. As they were walking out of the area, Kara thought that she heard something. When she asked if they were being followed, the voice recorder that was stationary in the kids' room captured a response.
Are you following us? Are you following us? Are you following us?
Another EVP that we captured was again captured on the voice recorder in the children's room, which seemed to be the most active room in the house. As Michelle and Jenny were leaving the room, Michelle stated that every time she stood up, she was getting a painful headache. As they walked out of the room, the voice recorder caught a slight whisper. We admit that this whisper is hard to hear due to Jenny and Michelle walking, but we have amplified the EVP so that you may attempt to hear it.
I stand up and get this excruciating headache. I need to drink some water. I stand up and get this excruciating headache. I need to drink some water. Stand up and get this excruciating headache. I need to drink some water.
The final EVP was captured on the voice recorder that was left stationary in the attic. Kim and Kara were conducting an EVP session in the children's room, and when they finished, they walked out of the room and past the attic door. In the background behind their talking, the voice recorder caught a man's voice inside of the attic, and his phrasing seems very specific. We believe the man stated, "downstairs where the girls were sleeping." As a reminder, Lena and Ina Stillinger were asleep downstairs that night in 1912. Also, as a reminder, all investigators of Soul Sisters Paranormal are female. We have no explanation as to the origin of this man's voice. A final interesting event that happened that night did not occur in the house, but outside on the porch of the backyard barn that was being used as our base camp. At one point in the night, when we were all outside of the house sitting on this porch, Michelle got up from the swing to go inside of the barn. She left the EMF detector that she was holding lying on this swing. The rest of us sitting there then noticed that the EMF detector started going off, with the indicator lights spiking to red. I quickly grabbed a camera to document this occurrence, which will be shown in the following clip. As an aside, an EMF detector measures energy levels, and after having done a sweep upon our arrival, and again after this event, we could find no energy source that would cause these meters to spike like they did. Additionally, this exchange is the only time during the night that these meters indicated high energy levels. We tried numerous times both in the house and on this porch, but no other EMF hits occurred.
Will you please step up to the light again? If you're out here. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Can you please turn that light to green, from green to red again? Okay.
Alright.
Alright. Oh, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Awesome. So you want us to talk out here?
Okay.
Okay, we can
We can talk
totally
out
do
here.
that. Okay. Step away now, please. Step away. Step back for me, please, so I can ask you some questions. Pretty please. Thank you. Are you one of the more... Wait, hold on. Step back, please. Are you a member of the Moore family? If you are, can you step up to that light again? A little bit lighter, a little bit more. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Step back, please. Step back for me. Oh, thank you, hon. Are you one of the more... Step back, please. Please step back. Please step back. And I'll ask you more questions.
Step away. Step away from the device, please. Thank you. All the way, back.
All the way, back up, please. Okay. Alright, if you're going to stand there, can you light it up to red? Can you light it up? Okay, thank you. Thank you, that takes a ton of energy and we appreciate that. Thank you. Are you one of the Moore family? Okay, thank you. Now step back, now that we know who you are. Thank you. Are you Josiah Moore? Are you Sarah Moore? Okay, hey Sarah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Please step back. Please, thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to put another device on the chair.
At this point, we decided to put a second EMF detector on the swing, our hope being that we could get responses on each of the meters. Having two different meters spike at differing times could be further validation that we were actually communicating with the spirit of Sarah Moore.
Let's see. We've got two devices on the chair. One is black and one is gray. Can you step up to the gray device? The gray device only. Can you light that one up? Just light the gray device up.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, just to confirm, can you light up the black one only? Step back from the gray. Step back from the gray, please. Now, can you go to the black one only? Thank you.
Can you take that black one all the way to red?
Can you
Take it
only
red.
go to red? On the black only. Perfect. You are awesome. Awesome. Now step back, please. Please step back. You can stop. If you can, okay. Okay. Is Josiah Moore out here as well? Okay. Is Catherine Moore out here as well? Okay, thank you. Step back. Step on back.
If you want to talk to us, take both of those meters to red. If you want to talk to us,
They gotta go to red.
take them both to red. Keep going.
Come on. Alright, I know that's a lot of energy. Do you want to, if you want to speak to us and you're Sarah Moore, will you just take the gray meter to red? The gray meter.
Well, the black is going to red.
I think even Paranormal is good, so
Okay,
I think the black and gray are confusing.
okay. Are you scared to be inside? If you're scared to be inside, can you take those to red?
I don't know.
Either one. Take it to red if you're scared. Are you happy that we're here? Can you take it to red if you're happy that we're here? Can I get a red? Okay, thank you. We're happy to be here as well. Thank you. And you can step back now, please. Thank you. Step back, please. Please? Okay. Sarah, can you take it to red if your children are inside? If your children are here, Sarah, can you take one of those meters all the way to red? Thank you. Okay, thank you. You can stop now. Okay, thank you. If we go back inside, will you speak with us inside? Take it to red if you'll talk to us if we go back inside. Do you want us to stay out here and speak? A little bit more. If you want us to stay out here and speak with you, take it to red, please. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You can stop now.
It's amazing that they're both going off.
Stay here. Stop, please.
I think one of the boys is it's not fun, right?
I've got both phones in my pocket.
I got one right here.
I don't think that can reach. Sarah, can you step back, please? Okay. Can you take them to thanks. Can you go to red if Josiah is upstairs? Can you take it to red? Can you go to red if Lena is upstairs? Please take it to red if Lena is upstairs.
I don't sense.
Can you take it to red if Ina is upstairs?
Are the Cylinder girls still here? Go to red if the Cylinder girls are still here. And just to confirm, we're talking to Sarah Moore, right? If it's Sarah, go to red. On
Well-
either one of those meters, if you're Sarah Moore.
Again, Sarah Moore, if it's you. We'll only believe it's you if you take one of those to red, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Kind of
Thank you.
incredible.
You can step away now? Thank you. Thank you. Sarah, can you please stop? Sarah, can you take one of them to red if your children are in the house? Please take one of them to red if your children are in the house. I need it to go to red if your children are in the house.
If he's trying.
I know.
Go to red, Sarah. You're almost there.
Okay, you can stop now. Please, ma'am. Sarah, will you take it to red?
I don't want to ask her. You know the question you don't want to ask.
Is someone else in the house?
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, will you take it to red if somebody else besides your family is in that house? If there's somebody other than your family in the house, will you please take it to red? Okay, so only your family?
Sarah's your killer here? Is he here?
Okay.
In 1912, a small farming community in central Iowa became legendary for the most nefarious of reasons, when 8 lives were taken in a murderous act that to this day remains one of the most baffling mysteries in the United States. The Moore family and the Stillinger sisters were buried in the Villisca Cemetery, and their funeral was detailed in the June 14th edition of the Red Oak Express as follows. The funeral was held publicly in the city square in Villisca on Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock, and was witnessed by several thousand people from Villisca and from distant points. The 8 caskets were banked with flowers more profuse perhaps than many in the crowd had ever seen. The services in the park were listened to with keen attention and silent respect. The burden of sorrow which the community bore was plainly manifested on the faces of the crowd. The funeral procession that wound its way to the cemetery following the services in the park was without a doubt the largest the city has ever known, and extended more than a quarter mile of length. There was nearly a half a dozen carriages in the procession, besides the 8 hearse wagons. The Moore family and the Stillinger sisters were laid to rest in a quiet cemetery overlooking the fields of Iowa. But while their bodies may lay here, it seems that their spirits may still be very much at home inside of the little farmhouse on East 3rd Street, Villisca.